Makes me think of Prince,
There we
actually, a
go.
little bit.
I don't know who it is. It's just on StreamYard, but I kind of like it because it introduces everybody. Everyone gets in the mood for Debra and her guest. Hello, everyone. It's so good to see you. Got Hogarth here. It's so fun.
Hello, everyone.
I've got Bora Bora and Cat Mama. Cat Mama is here. Bora Bora greeting us. That's wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I'm going to grill Hogarth today. We're going to see him on the grill. Oh gosh, and there has been some questions about asking questions, but I've got something else in mind for a little while, and if he gets bored of this, then we'll answer questions. And of course, I'll be keeping an eye on the questions to see if something else is coming up for you on a personal level. Miss, thank you so much for coming in, Hogarth.
A pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on your channel. And yeah, it's great. Well done. And it's obviously doing well and growing and stuff like that. So
it is
excellent.
growing.
It doesn't happen for everyone, you know. So you've done really, really well.
Oh, thank you so much. I had a reading with Hogarth at the beginning of when I started this channel, which was middle of last year. Right. And he said, go for it. And I said, okay. And I did. And here we are. So I'm celebrating you today, Hogarth. Thank you so much for shining the light on this side of it. I could see it in
your chart as well. I could see in your chart. I can't remember how we got onto the subject, but I think I was saying something, you know, you should maybe do something with YouTube. And you were like, well, actually,
you know, yeah, it was more like, I need to know. I brought the question to you because I'm up there, and you reach a time in your life when you just don't want to start something that's not going to catch fire. I'm sorry, I'm running out of time, man. And with YouTube, it takes a lot of chop wood, carry water, trying to figure out what to do next and all the clicks. And you said go for it. So I did, and it's come out. Look at all these beautiful people in our room. It's just wonderful. Thank you so much for coming in. Oh gosh. Now I have some questions for you. And I know one of them, I don't want to forget to ask you, but you do private readings, of course. And I want to make sure I have that information before we sign off, so people know how to get a hold of you. But I can't. You have done, so I've been following you, of course, and you have done some things that have just dazzled me. Like you read some of the cards a little different than me. Not that it's wrong or right or anything, but we have different relationships with the card. The basic meaning is there, of course, but I just love the way you present, and I'm going to do more of that in my channel. I'll copy you a little bit where you show the cards and how it goes to the other card and everything. I just love that. And
thank you.
And so then I thought I'd ask a few questions of you because So the very first question I want to know is, what on earth happened to draw your attention to the psychic sciences? So where did that begin?
You know, that's a really good question, and it's so thanks for asking it. And I'll say it's a foundational one. Well, really, I suppose it goes. Oh, she's vanished.
I want to see you. No. I want to showcase you.
Yeah. What? you vanished for a minute there, but you're back.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. So really, this goes back to childhood. So this is actually something I write about a little bit at the beginning of my book, because as you know, I'm working on an astrology book, my first astrology book, Neo-Vedic astrology, and it's going to be out in April. And I actually kind of like talk a little bit about my childhood. So my mother, who's sadly not with us now, she passed away a while ago, back in the year 2000. My gosh, which is 24 years ago now, coming
like
up to
yesterday, though.
Yeah, like yesterday. And she had a lot of struggles with her mental health throughout her life, not in the last few years, but it was, it was really challenging, and it was like, and it wasn't subtle either. Like my mother was talking and arguing with people that weren't there. I mean, the real kind of classic things. It was not subtle. She was a real force of nature, incredibly intelligent woman, but went through a lot of struggles in her life, and that really impacted her mental health. So when I was a kid growing up, I didn't have much TV at all growing up. Not much TV at all, which I realized was probably a good thing. Yeah. A good thing, because it meant I had to read, and it was my mother that actually taught me how to read. So I could read from a very young age. I mean, literally, I must have been 3, 4, not even joking, because I remember the first book was Jack and the Beanstalk. That's how she taught me to read. So I didn't have much TV. Many things were scarce, including food, but there were always coloring pens, and there were always books. And my mother got for me the Greek mythology, the ancient Greek mythology. So I read all of that avidly. So you can imagine all the Greek myths, the Minotaur, Andromeda and Perseus, Demeter and Persephone, etc. I read, the Iliad, Homer's journey, all of these things. And I think there was something, I can't remember which Greek myth it was, but there was this king, maybe King Menelaus, I can't remember which one. He did some wicked things. And part of his punishment from the gods was to have the Furies torment him. I don't know if you've heard of this, the Furies. And the Furies were these characters, I can't remember whose children they were, but they would come and they would torment people and drive them to madness. And that's when the penny really dropped for me. And I was like, wow, maybe my mother's being tormented by the Furies, not because she's a bad person, but she has turmoil within her. And that's really when that journey began, and when I started to explore astrology and stuff like that. So I've been looking at astrology when I realized the planets were named after the gods and stuff. So really that journey genuinely began when I was about 8. That's really when I began all of this stuff. Yeah.
So what was the first? So I know what came first then. It was learning about the Greek gods and philosophy. And then you went through this thing about your mom being tormented. Did you go through this, I've got to figure this out so I can save my mother thing, or you just witnessed? You're a witness to it.
I would say it was a bit of both. I would say it's a bit of both, because if any one of your primary caregivers is not well, particularly as children, first of all, they do everything they can in their power to try and fix the scenario. And I also started reading a lot of books on psychology and stuff like that, because my mother actually did have like these kind of books around. So I started to learn these concepts very young. But I remember, when I was around about 8 and a half, and I remember and it was quite a profound thought. I remember sitting myself down on the steps, and there was this little skylight that came through. I remember the sunlight came through, and I sat down and I was like, you know what? My mum's not well, and it's not my fault.
Oh, good. Good.
I mean,
for me, saved you.
Yes, I realized it did, because I was just like, it's not my fault. But what helped me get there was the Greek mythology, was the what I'd read, up until that stage. You got me. I mean, I'm still young. It wasn't like I was massively read, but I was, no one at primary school was reading Homer's Iliad. Let's put it that way.
Except for Hogarth. I love that. I love that. Did you, I'm going to add one here. Did you, as a child, see ghosts or see things or feel things? Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes, very much. My sister and I, because I've got older brothers and sisters, so I'm the youngest out of them. So on my mum's side, 2 elder sisters, 1 elder brother. So I never saw ghosts, but there were supernatural experiences. I remember there would be times I'd be getting ready for school, and then I'll be getting ready for school and getting myself ready for school, because kids took themselves to school back in those days.
That's right. Back in the day.
Yeah, you took yourself to school, 8,
Yeah.
9, whatever. There was no being driven. I mean, some kids got driven. I took the bus. I think it
Right,
was
right.
2 pence, so 2 cents in American. Let's
Oh,
call it that.
wow.
2 cents to take the bus. And I remember there was one time I was getting ready for school, and this huge waft of, it was like sticking my head into a rose bush, in full bloom. This whole scent of rose filled the room. And it would happen from time to time. And then I remember telling my mum about that. I said, I can smell roses. And why can I smell roses? And my mum would be like, I
That's the
think
spirit.
that's my friend. She
Yeah.
was called Rose, and Rose was literally her favorite. So I would feel that, and there was other supernatural things. My mum, yeah, I'm sure she won't mind me saying she was a little bit of a witch. I think she was.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
love that.
Mm.
I like
And I was
that.
born at the witching hour as well, midnight. So I'm literally
Is
midnight.
and you do your shows close to midnight. You're a night
I
owl, aren't you?
know everything. It's always at night and stuff like that.
Ooh, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. I'm gonna look at the comments to make sure I have it still going. Yep. So how soon, what was the time like between you being really interested and thirsty for the knowledge of the psychic sciences?
Mhm.
And then, of course, there's study time. But then, about how long did it take from that point to actually starting a business? Because you are really, from the outside looking in, it might be not the way in your room, but you look very together, measured, confident. There's no hemming and hawing, or this might mean, or this, that. I mean, there's, if it happens in your reading, I kind of like that. It's one of the things, well, this might mean something, but let's continue with the reading. That's exactly what I do. Let's see what the next card says, see, and then come back to this one. Is that kind of thing. You knew you had something to offer the world, a service to help people find the right combination of words to feel successful in this life and comfortable in the life. When did that happen? How long? I mean, you started young, I know, but
Good question. I would say, and thank you as well for those compliments. I think in terms of, say, like the confidence and stuff like that, I think it's just through going through so many ranges of different experiences, because people might see me and some of them think I've had this very kind of cushy life, and I really haven't. Like my childhood years, teen years, and my 20s, they were all very, very difficult. It was just tremendous graft, struggle. I've not really shared this publicly, but twice I nearly lost the roof over my head, had to go to court and stuff like that. And there was all sorts of, things, battles for what those reasons were. I've done all sorts of jobs, sorts of different careers, but a lot of stuff public facing. So I used to work a lot in events. I used to work for this very posh upscale caterer called Rocket Food. I think they're still going. And one thing that was really interesting is, and it was a great time. This was like in the noughties, early 2000s, when basically employers used to compete with each other to spoil their staff the most. Imagine, yeah, that doesn't happen anymore. Yeah,
whatever.
they literally used to compete, and it was fabulous. And at one point, I used to work with Carrie Simmons. Now, many of you may not know that name, but Carrie Simmons is Boris Johnson's wife.
Aha.
So yeah, once upon a time, we used to work together back in events. She's a lovely lady, actually, lovely lady. So I did a lot of interacting, working with with the public. I did a lot of, I used to manage conferences. I used to manage theatre events. I've done a lot of film work, extras work as well. In fact, one of my first jobs as a kid was in adverts and stuff like that. And I would say the film work helped a lot as well, because when the director says action, you have to do it. Yeah. You have to do it. You're not always reading lines, of course, but you get used to it. And I found it was very good discipline for performing as it were. And I think because I've had to have so many varied different conversations with literally thousands upon thousands of people over my life and career, I think that is what certainly helps. And then of course the background, reading up on all the, the psychology, the mythology, and these legends are real. They are still analogous today. When I talk about Persephone and Demeter, it's real, like in terms of Ceres or the planets. It really helps bringing that all to life.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful. Yeah, that's one of the things whenever I see a very accomplished light worker doing well, I know that they got there through a harder path, kind of for you to be able to tolerate what's coming towards you. And we have clients that present with quite unusual situations. We need to be able to meet them where they are. And it takes someone experiencing some tough times to be able to meet that person. And a client will know if you got it, if you get them.
Yeah, you can't fake it. You can't fake it. And very often, if people are having challenges in their life, I can often reference experiences that I may have been through as well. Maybe not always exactly the same, but it could be analogous. And as you know, when you've gone through some trials in life, it does teach you a lot of compassion and empathy as well for others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you do the tarot, but you also do is it Eastern astrology? Is there another name for that?
Yes. So what I do is I do Neo-Vedic astrology. Neo-Vedic astrology. So what is I am in traditional Vedic astrology, which is over 5,000 years old at minimum. Some people say really it's probably more like 10, because for the first 5,000 years it was passed down in the oral tradition, but at least 5,000 years recorded. And they look at 9 factors. So they look at the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And those are called the 7 grahas, and it means to grip. So we're all under the grip of the planets. Yeah. And then we have Rahu and Ketu, which is the north and south node of the moon, the head of the dragon and the body of the dragon. So that's 9 factors, and that sets up the whole system, and that works absolutely fine on its own. But I also add the outer planets as well. So I add Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Chiron, and Ceres. And I add those because for me, they're too important to leave out. And it is the combination of the outer planets and Ceres and Chiron that really add those extra layers of meaning and stuff like that, because the outer planets often describe the things that are unusual, the things that are strange, the things that are unconventional, the things that people don't normally talk about, particularly when it comes to Neptune. Oh, I mean, I love Neptune. Neptune is an incredible planet, but my goodness, he can do some stuff. Yeah.
So let me understand something. So is it a factor that your way of doing astrology does encompass the outer planets, or did you choose to add that to what you already knew? I'm asking this for one reason. We are in a time now in our solar system where all the outer planets are saying hello. They're coming close, and they make a big difference in our energies and for the world as well. But I was just curious if you chose to learn the outer ones, or that is involved with your form of astrology.
No, I chose to incorporate those in. So what I should explain is when I started learning astrology, like I said, when I was 8 and stuff, what astrology and astronomy at the same time, actually, because I was literally looking at the planets, their compositions, etc., all of this kind of stuff. But I started out in Western astrology first. So everyone's probably heard of Linda Goodman's Star Signs, which is very, very famous, one of those seminal kind of books. So I learned all of that stuff off first. And that was a good grounding. Of course, then going into the Vedic. And my analogy for like the two is like this: it's like, although Western tropical astrology, which we all use in the West, is younger, is younger than Vedic. But I say it's like classical music. We all know the tunes. You know, it's Mozart and Beethoven. Most people understand what a sun sign is, etc., stuff like that. Vedic astrology is more like jazz. It's much more like jazz because it's like all of the semitones in between. You've got nakshatras, which are asterisms, star clusters, 2 1/4 nakshatras per sign, or 3 energies per sign, 27 nakshatras. The moon spends 1 day in each one. She sets up the whole cycles of your life, the Mahadasha sequence, which is when planets have a dominant influence, etc. All the mythology, gods, goddesses, there's all of this stuff has to be learned. And they're all factors, and they're all bona fide factors as well. So you have to learn all that. So it's kind of like, you know, like how they say all great jazz musicians are classically trained. So, you know, when you think of like John Coltrane or Nina Simone, or, you know, that these, think of like any jazz master, they learn the classical first, and then that gives you the benchmark. And that's really what helped me understand the Vedic. Otherwise, it would have just been almost, because it's another language. I mean, it's written, these names, they're written in Sanskrit.
No, it's really a hard way to read things, but it does get into the weeds. You did get into the weeds with mine. I like it. I like it a lot. So when did tarot come into your liking?
Good question. I'd always had a little flirtation, I suppose, with tarot. Maybe, you know, from in my 20s or whatever. I would say mainly when I was at university. I can't remember where I got my. Actually, no, I can't remember where I got my first tarot deck from. It was from this astrology shop in Covent Garden. It's quite a famous one. Obviously, I've forgotten its name now. But when you go to Covent Garden in London, there's a famous astrology shop there. And that's where I got my first deck. But I would mainly do it with friends. And, you know, shuffle, pull the cards, and then I'd, be looking at the book and blah, 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 So it was still good, but I wasn't fluent. But then, and then I sort of like forgot about astrology I forgot about tarot for a little bit. And then it was when I started doing collaborations with other people and stuff like that. And then once I really applied myself to the tarot, that was it. I just absorbed it. And I think because I'm so used to looking at little symbols on a chart, because I have to be able to interpret someone's life just by a glyph in a box. There's very little information there when you actually look at a chart. So for me, in a way, the tarot, in many ways, it was actually a lot easier because the symbolism is so rich. But also the other kind of stuff comes in. And I think that's why I read the tarot cards a bit differently to everyone else.
Yeah. Oh, I love the way you read. It just makes sense. And I was so delighted. You read I was going to remember the card you read a certain way and ask you about it, but that might be just interesting between you and I offline. we have people.
Was it the Empress card?
It feels like it was a minor card. Oh. And so Stinky, for instance, fish? What's that?
I call the Page of Cups Stinky Fish.
I know, that kind of stuff is just. Now, why do you call it Stinky Fish?
Because the Page of Cups, as we know, all of the Page suites rather, they all deal with messaging and stuff like that. But the reason why, but the Page of Cups in general can just be surprising or unpleasant news. But what I often find is that, like, particularly, obviously, we've been reading so much on political tarot now, haven't we? Us all readers. When that card comes up, I'll be like, because it'll be something stinks. It would be a message that was unsavory in some kind of way, and it would just be consistent. Whenever the Page of Cups would come up, and you'll be reading on something, then a week or two later, that unsavory news, as it were, would come out, and that's why I started calling it stinky fish.
Oh my God. See, ladies and gentlemen, remember that. This is how you develop your own voice. Your own voice with the tarot and interpret. That's what I did. I work on the hotlines. And so the two of swords means basically what it means, but then it will morph into something else. And when I study the court cards, I put characters to them, like the Page of Swords is Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. Even though Sheldon Cooper was a grown man, but he had this adolescent, wait a minute, they would all want to go to the movies, but he had to say, wait a minute, we've got to think things through, and hold up the whole show. So that's how I get into my and then of course reverse Queen of Swords is always Judge Judy. The shadow side of Judge Judy.
Indeed.
So, but it's fun. Everybody just you'll get to have a relationship with these cards, and you'll get a lot better with them. You were going to say something?
Perfect. Just someone wrote in the comments. They were asking me if I learned Sanskrit and stuff like that before. No, I read books translated into English about Vedic astrology, and I've done lots of training with Vedic astrologers and looked at so many astrologers, and I still do. But a lot of the names of the planets and stuff are in Sanskrit. So I didn't learn Sanskrit in order to learn Vedic astrology. You've got books on them in English, but you do have to deal with a lot of Sanskrit, like the names, for example, the nakshatras. They're all like Shatabishak, for example, is in Aquarius. Yeah, it's a section in Aquarius, or Revati is at the end of Pisces, so you have to learn all the Sanskrit names. This is true.
That's amazing. Thank you for catching that, because my I should have mentioned that my comments froze. So now I'm back on track. All right. Thank you so much. All right. How many places have you lived in the world? I mean, have you lived in other places of the world? You seem so worldly.
Thank you. Actually, funny enough, in terms of living places, I've always lived in London. So I live in a borough of London called Hackney. So I grew up in North Hackney, a place called Stoke Newington, which always had lots of parks and stuff like that. And it's got a very famous cemetery called Albany Park, and it's this Victorian cemetery. It's huge, and me being the strange kid that I was,
kid.
yeah, I used to love going through. But I mean, it's really beautiful. I mean, we're talking, it's full of angels, these fantastical mausoleums, things, full of sculptures and gardens and stuff like that. It was a little bit spooky, of course. But it's Abney Park. If anyone kind of Googles it, Stoke Newington, North London. So I grew up there. Then I spent till I was about 11, 12, and I live in the area that I'm in now, which is opposite a place called London Fields, which has become very trendy. Hackney's gone through a huge journey. No one wanted to live here before. Now they all do. So I've always lived here, but I've always been interested in travel. So I do like to go on adventures. My granddad was American, so I've been to America, really quite a lot. My last big adventure, proper adventure in America, was 2019. So I went through 22 states in America. Yeah, wow. I went through 22 states, stayed in 11 of them. And at that point, I think that was my fifth visit to America. So I've always spent a lot of time in New York, which has always been one of my favorite cities. New York and Chicago, I'd say, are some of my favorites. But I've been to Russia. I've been to Russia, believe it or not. So yes, I've been to, Moscow, St. Petersburg, which was just astonishingly beautiful. Then a place called Novosibirsk, which is the middle of Siberia, for a solar eclipse. How appropriate. We've got this huge one
Wow.
coming up. But
Yes.
yeah, it was extraordinary. So 2008, I went there with one of my good friends, Gustav. I had dreadlocks at the time. People were literally pulling on me for photographs. So people would be like, photo, pожалуйста,
The
all the
oddity
time.
with the
Yeah, I was just extremely exotic. And
yeah.
I remember one time I got off the Trans-Siberian Railway. They give you time to stretch your legs. And I always call it my Alfred Hitchcock moment, because I got off the platform and we were halfway between Moscow and some place, and it was like the onion domes. You could see the traditional onion domes wherever this place was. And I got off the platform and I stretched and I yawned, and everyone on the platform suddenly stopped and went like that. Yeah, the
Serious?
whole platform stopped. So you can imagine, and it was just like, okay, I'm thinking I'm going to get back on the train now.
I mean, what did you go through with that? I mean, were you
It was
delighted? Was
so,
it
it was,
interesting? Was it
no,
queer? What
it was
happened?
the weirdest thing in my whole life. One of the
Yeah.
weirdest things in my whole life. I've never had a whole platform of people. We're talking about 50 or 60 people just
Wow.
stop in their tracks, because it may as well have been an alien that had stepped off
Yeah.
the train. Because they genuinely, I could tell they had not seen anyone like me in their neck of the woods, and it was truly astonishing for them. I had people surreptitiously taking photographs of me, pretending to take a photograph of some old poster on the wall put up by Lenin. And you're like, come on, that's been there since the fall of, before the Berlin Wall, you know what I mean? But there you are.
I had a moment of that. When I was younger, I drove the Alcan, which is the long road between America and Alaska. It goes in and out of the Yukon several times. And there's a thing called the Mile Poost. You get it before you start the drive, and it'll tell you what to do, where to go, and what to avoid. And there's one place that in the book, I turned the page and it said, "You're coming upon a town by the name of Devil's Paw. Do not stop." So I had to stop, figuring if I survived it, it would make a great story. But the thing is that I went into it wasn't much of a town, went into this place where you get candy or something like that. And I just walked in. Everything had a layer of dust on it, but it's the Alcan, right? So that's okay. But everybody in the place stopped whatever they were doing, even mid sip of a coffee, to look at me. So I had one moment of what you experienced, but I got out of there. Devil's Spa.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And I've been to lots of other places as well, like all over Europe. So of course, because in London, Europe is much closer. So of course, France, Holland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark. I've been to Italy about 12 or 13 times. That's one of my favorites. Greece. So I even forget. I have to put them on the maps where I've been. And of course, the States a lot, like I said before, and now of course Mexico, and hopefully next year Costa Rica. And every once in a while, I love cultures. I love people. Growing up in Hackney, it was very lots of different ethnicities and blends of people, different classes of people. So I really do like humanity and stuff like that. And I like taking myself on adventures and going out of my comfort zone from time to time.
That's what makes you a great advisor. You can really meet people where they are. I think that's great. So, how does spirit speak to you? Do you hear, see, feel? Is there any touching going on?
Good question. Well, it's really interesting because like most people have guides and stuff, yeah. And for me, my guides genuinely are the planets. I tune in with them. And it literally, like, it comes through in consultations and stuff like that. I've been told I do have guides, but it's my clients that are psychic. When they've read me, they've seen like things or people around me that I'm not necessarily aware of. So there's a client of mine, very psychic client, and she came back to me for a consultation. It'd been a little while since I'd seen her. She's got gifts and stuff like that. And when between the time that we had, it was probably a couple of years, and she said, you have so many animals around you. So so she said that I had birds. There was even like a beetle. There was a centipede. There was an eagle, which is my spirit animal, by the way. So like bald eagle, golden eagle, that's like my sort of like totem spirit animal, as it were. But she said there's a huge bear around you. She said like a bear. She said there's this big bear around you, sort of protecting you and giving you advice and stuff like that. And I knew immediately what she meant. She's like, well, I can't understand it. It's this big bear, and it gives you advice, and it gives you, and it helps you with your astrology and all of that kind of stuff. And I knew what she'd meant. What she was picking up on was the constellation called Ursa Major. There's a constellation called Ursa Major, and it means the big bear.
Oh, the big bear.
And it's very close. Yeah, it's very close to the Big Dipper. And because so much of my energy is like Arcturian, I've had many of my clients say this, but the star Arcturus is very close to the Big Dipper and the Big Bear. So when she was reading Ursa, the big bear around me, I was like, oh my goodness. That's the protection from the constellation. I knew what she meant. She didn't know what she meant, but I twigged. I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, there you are. Those are my guys. Planets, stars.
The stars. Arcturian, there's very few Arcturians on the planet, but you may not think that because you draw them in. You'll draw Arcturians in around you. That's awesome. That is so cool. So I would like to talk about your wonderful Hogarth archetypal spread. I don't know if that's the name of it, but you developed a spread that looks quite interesting. And I'm curious how you came upon that.
Oh, good question. So what I call it the archetypal blueprint. So that's what I call it. And that used to be the name of my website, actually, until something went weird with it, and I can't remember, and I had to change it to my YouTube channel, which, of course, is Hogarth's Global Astrology. But that was a remarkable thing. So that came to me, the idea came to me, I think it was about 6-7 years ago now. Must be. Let's say 6 years. Pardon me. 6 years ago, to be on the safe side, because I can't remember exactly. And I knew my Western astrology and stuff at that point, and I was really starting to get into the Vedic, and I had this massive download that it just came in a flash, and it was from Uranus. It was Uranian, and it was like, because the planet Uranus deals with like visions of the future, pioneer, sudden flashes and insights. And I remember I literally ran to my laptop to get it down, this technique, and I kind of like codified it, got it all down. And I think it was because of my astrology work and because of my tarot work, I came up with this 12-house system. Now, I think there may be one or two other people that may have a 12-house system or a different house system. And I do need to give a credit and a shout out to Caroline Mace, of course, because I use her deck. Yeah. So, I always like to credit my sources. And I think that's important, isn't it? As us YouTubers, I don't see it enough. I think I know I can tell when people have got something, an idea from someone else, and they don't give a credit. And I think they should. I think it's important, because we're all learning from each other. So of course she's come up with this remarkable deck. But my 12 house system, the way I use it is uniquely mine. And I've just found it is just a great diagnostic tool. And for me, it's not only for me, for my clients as well. It is alchemy. Something magical happens. No two readings are ever the same. They're always bespoke and unique to that person. And I say to them, look, this might seem arrogant when I first say this to you, but I say every card is perfect because I get them to choose the card. They tell me where to drop the token. So it's their higher self. So I tell my clients, it's your higher self that is trying to communicate to you today. And I'm the conduit. I'm the crystal. I have to interpret the information, but it's coming from them. And it's just a revelation. And I say that combined with the astrology, I think it's my best work. And it seems to just transform people's lives. Literally, they transform by even by the middle, let alone the end.
Wow. Wow. And you offer that as a standalone service?
Yeah, so I have an archetypal, so people can go for the astrology and the archetypes combined, or they could just do the archetypes on its own. But I try not to do too many of them because you can imagine it takes a tremendous amount of energy because it's the archetypes flowing through, the planets flowing through, and it's a 2-hour consultation and it goes like that. More often than not, it often runs over. So I love doing it, but it does take a lot out of me. Yeah.
So when I practiced the tarot, let me just do it this way. When I practice my mediumship or remote viewing, I practice with a true crime story on TV that I'd never heard before, but I know it's true. And I would pause the TV and then move into what predict where the body is, and you go, somebody's going to die, right? And so that's how I practice my developing my skills. How did you practice what that was? In other words, you had it as a download, you fine-tuned it. Did you go to strangers to practice on, friends to practice on? Because there's a jump between theory and practice. What was that jump off for you?
I did archetypal readings for friends at the start, friends and like work colleagues and stuff like that. So that's where I could, test out the technique. And I mean, I knew immediately that it would work.
Yes.
And I also structure it like I structure it like a company. Like, so the archetypal blueprint is like, so house number 1 is the CEO, for example, who's running the whole company. That's whatever archetype falls there. That is what everyone else sees. And that's that person's main priority. And then like the second house placement, it deals with finance. I call it, it's like the finance and resources department, but also deals with education and family. So I overlay the meanings, the astrological meanings of the houses, but like a business structure. So like the third house, for example, is communications of all kinds, but I call it the PR department. So whatever card falls there, that is the archetype that represents their speech. And I allow my clients to guess at the first 3 archetypes that they think they are. But I always tell them, don't worry if you're wrong, because most people are. And out of the hundreds of times I've done this consultation, the maximum anyone's been able to get out of 12 was 4 out of 12. And that was uncanny. That's never happened again. So it's almost impossible because it's your higher self bringing the message down. So yeah, but I practiced with friends and work colleagues first for a little while, and then after a while it's just sheer experience. I would say 80%, 85% of what I've learned has been in the saddle doing consultations day in, day out. It's the best
It is.
teaching.
It really is. It really is. I learned a lot about my craft doing that way. So bravo. Now you have or are writing a book, and I'd like to know what it's about and what your dreams are, what you hope to see come about.
Oh, these are great questions. I must say they're great questions.
You
Thank you.
fascinate me. You absolutely fascinate me.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. So the book is already written. So when was I writing the book? We're in 2024 now, aren't we? So I would say I think I was writing the book from maybe half of 2022 going into 2023, something like that. It's all a bit foggy now because I was so busy. And of course, writing it, then I workshopped it as well. So I sent it to about 50 of my clients. They gave me feedback on things to update or things that I could look at. I got them to check for any typos, anything like that. But I've got very sort of like
50 people.
About 50 people. And because I've written books before, actually, I've written historical adventure fiction before, so I've been through. It's not my first rodeo, so technically, this book will actually be my fifth, because there was a children's book I illustrated, and that was a bit of a disaster. And like, there's been lots of ups and downs to spin a picture.
Practice, practice, practice.
Indeed. So the book is written, and what I'm working on now is the front cover. So I came up with a basic design for the front cover, but I'm not a book cover designer. Yeah, that's a whole different skill set. So recently I've just gone back to the designer that designed my first the book covers for my first two books, and she did a fantastic job. So I've gone back to her again, but one second here, I can show you. I don't know what she's going to come up with.
Yeah.
But I am an illustrator, as you guys probably know already, in my own right. So I'll show you. So I always start with pencil and pen sketches first. So if we look here, this was one of the sketches. Like, this is how I wanted.
Let me wait a minute. I'm going to make you full. Hold on here.
Thank you. So if we look here, so this is a sketch. This is a sketch of how I wanted the book to potentially look. What the cover designer will come up with, I don't know, but that was the sketch. And then from that, I then went to, where's the original one? So I've got so many. Here we are. I then went to this. So you can imagine, like, so here, the text would be here, name and stuff there. But I'm going to let the designer imagine and put in. I've given her detailed notes of what I would like things to look like, but she has to come up obviously with that. But the book is full of, like, I really wanted to put my own illustrations in. So this is one of my ones that I just finished on the nakshatras. So you can see here, this shows, these are all the names in Sanskrit. These are Gandanta points. These are the royal Persian stars, as you can see there. And all these different things to help people understand how the planets work and the cycle of the yugas. I love this illustration as well. And so that just gives you an example, because so much stuff is computer generated today, isn't it? Right. You can put yourself back in. Thank you.
I'm here. Yeah.
If you can imagine, so much is computer generated today, isn't it? Now, I'm not criticizing it per se, but what I've done is I have made videos of myself doing my own artwork. So A, people know it is me. B, I have a historical record, because the way AI is going, and I've been talking as well, I've been warning people about deep fakes. How interesting, yeah? Last 18 months, I've been saying we're going to have to look out for deep fakes in the world, because Neptune is now in Pisces. And I just wanted people to see that I am the author of my own work. But not only that, when something is made by hand, it just has a different quality, a different feel. So this book will have those illustrations, and they really are my illustrations. And I wanted people to be able to see those and enjoy those.
They are magnificent. I can see those illustrations on wall hangings and T-shirts. I mean, it's just magnificent what you've been able to do. That's wonderful. But I know what you mean about AI. When I finished I have a book coming out in a while, and it was at the front of the book when it says the is been and all on the introduction, the very last sentence is, this book was written without the use of AI. And then I wrote not one word.
Yeah.
I think, but there's AI trackers and stuff like that now that are going to save us from that. The plagiarism and stuff.
Yeah,
well, they're starting to do a website one. So there's this plagiarism and AI tracking. So there's some bumper cars, bumpers along the way that's coming around.
They're saying Amazon has had to kind of even change its policies and stuff because they said so many people are using AI to write books now. And look, I'm not completely anti-AI because I've had dreams in the future of how I could use it for a really positive thing. But a lot of people, I mean, they're putting in because the AI, they just put in a few prompts and they say, "Oh, write me a book on that." And it's cheating. I'm sorry, but it is. It's not you. And there is a very important process that every human being goes through whenever they publish something, particularly when it's like a long form book. And the process in of itself is a very, very important and special process for each person. And becoming an author really is a birthing process, even if you don't publish it. And I think J.K. Rowling said something once upon a time. I know she's been a bit blacklisted these days, hasn't she? Bless her. But when she was giving her talks and conferences, she says, writing a book, even if you don't publish it, it is still an achievement and it's still worth doing. And she's absolutely right. It's another form of alchemy. So, but when you do it with AI, it's not the same. You're not an author if you've used AI to write a whole book for you.
Right, not to write a whole book. There was one article I was asked to write, and I had the key points in my head. You know how you build it. And so I ran the concept through a prompt, what I wanted to convey. I want to say this, I want to say that. And at the end of the day, the client, the customer, the reader will learn this, ABC. And AI gave me other headings that I didn't even remember I could put in. When someone really knows their work well, they will start with basics and then maybe jump too fast to the experienced. And so anyway, that helped me, but I didn't like copy and paste that into it, but it sure helped. Helped.
I think it can be a good aid and it can be an aid memoir. But I think when the AI does all the writing, then you can't call it your own work. Just like with photographs or artwork, if you're prompting a computer and it produces a beautiful artwork, the algorithm has produced that. Do you know what I mean? So I'm a bit of a purist that way.
I love that you are, because your work shows it. I mean, those illustrations, I can't wait to buy them. I'll buy your book too, but those illustrations are great. So the last question is, what is your North Star, your goal at the moment? What are the specific ways? What are the specific things we can do as your audience, as your fans, to support you to your goal, to quicken your goal? What do you hope to be?
Great question. These are honestly, Deborah, I have to thank you for these fabulous questions, because they're very thoughtful and they prompt me to think as well. So first of all, like we're all here on our journey together as humanity, and we're all contributing our unique consciousness to that. One of the things that I found, and this is what I'm looking forward to when I get people together on my retreat, because I'm having my first retreat in Santa Fe in August, 26th to the 30th of August this year. So we're going to be in Santa Fe, seeing all the great sights and stuff, and I'll be doing the astrology in the mornings. And one of the things what I found, the majority of my clients, irrespective of their age, but the vast majority of my clients will have either their ascendant or one or two planets or more conjunct a certain star in the sky. I kid you not.
Serious? These are natal charts? Oh,
in
no.
people's natal charts. It's incredible. And that star is called Regulus. Yeah, Regulus.
Oh.
So I had to, if I just indulge me as I quickly go back to the illustration again, I can show you which one, because it's one of the royal Persian stars. Here we are. So where's Regulus on here? Here we are. So here I put in here. Here's Regulus. So these are the Persian royal stars. So you've got oh, thank you, you've put me on the bigger thing. So here, so you've got Antar, no, sorry, where am I, let me get this right. So we have got, here we are, so we've got Aldebaran, sorry, you've got Antares here, star of autumn, but basically Regulus is the star of summer. It's this one. So about 85% of my clients will have either their ascendant or planets conjunct that star, and it sits in sidereal Leo, literally about 85%. So in terms of my guiding star, as it were, literally is Regulus. My Jupiter is conjunct that star. Anytime you've got an orb is how near or far something is from something else. 5-degree orb is close. 3 degrees or less is a big hit. And my Jupiter is at 8 degrees of Regulus. Sorry, at 8 degrees of sidereal Leo, and Regulus goes from 4 to 6 degrees. So it's very, very close. But for about 85%, but let's say 80% of my clients, I think it is more, they will have their ascendant or planets in the same place, irrespective of their age. And I've read charts for people that are, 16 up to age 93 is my eldest client. And within that age range, the majority of them will have a planet conjunct that star, but most of them are born in the mid to later 1950s or early 60s. And a lot of them have Pluto conjunct Regulus, which is even more profound because they're here for major ancestral clearing for their whole bloodlines. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you. So my North Star really is Regulus. So how can people help? Of course, liking and subscribing to the channel, sharing videos and stuff, of course, buying books and stuff when they're there, because I've got much bigger ambitions as well. There's going to be, I want to do a bejeweled pop-up book. So I'm going to do, so this book that I've written, which is called The Candid Guide to Neo-Vedic Astrology, I'm going to turn it into a bejeweled kind of pop-up book. So I'll show you here. Sorry, I'm getting what you get me getting all the drawings out, but I'll just show you this. So here's one. This is an illustration front cover here. In fact, let me take it out because otherwise it's a bit too shiny. So this is something that I've completed. Oh, can't remember when I did it. 1.5 years ago now. So this will be actually the front cover. So here, this would be all of this stuff where you see it's silver. This would be in platinum. These would be in real gemstones. So that'd be real sapphire. This would be inlaid with like mother of pearl. This is mother of pearl. This is mother of pearl. Sorry. Platinum, sapphires, gold. Here you got the signs of the zodiac and the padders going around. Each sign has its allotted gemstone. So Aries has coral, Taurus has diamond. And I actually took this to a jeweler. And here you can see where I've done the patent on the back, the notes on the back. So I've patented this design. I would like it to be this size. And imagine it would open up like this. If you look here, it would open up here. That was what it would look like. Now, obviously, not everyone is going to be able to afford diamonds and, gold and all of this
amazing
stuff. Thank you. So there will be like a cardboard version of it, but that for me is the next stage. So I might have to crowd fund that, because it's all about bringing everyone back into alignment. Western astrology works, of course, and I grew up in Western, but the Vedic is sidereal. We actually take that movement of the stars into account. So yeah, I want to take this to the next level. So that would be the project after the books projects.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. Just amazing. You're such a great artist, and I can really see that. So you'll let us know, I'm sure, or I'll have you back on, or we'll shout it from the rooftops about a GoFundMe or something like that to get you going on that idea, because I can see it in a museum. I can see it I can see that
that's what
displayed with, I can see you in a museum. That's wonderful. So we need to like, subscribe, comment, share, and request a reading, promote you, see you on other channels.
Yeah, I mean, people. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm taking most of May off. I think I've only got a couple of consultations in May, because sometimes I just need to kind of just take a break energetically, because I really do channel like the energy of the planets and stuff, and then it's coming up with bespoke solutions for that person. As you know, you've had a consultation with me, so each one is unique. Even when the same person comes back several times, each reading is unique. So I'll be taking like some time off in May. So I think there might be, April may have sold out, but it's worth having a look. May, you should see that's blocked out. So June, July, and then I'll be off in August as well. So I'm off in August and then a bit of September. But, May, June, July, there'll be spaces there. People are interested. Awesome. And it's Hogarth's Global Astrology. And it all helps. So liking, subscribing, and of course buying books and stuff, it all helps with that bigger vision.
That's for sure. How now, is there still room for your retreat? No, that closed off?
I think that because technically it's sold out, but then some people have had some unexpected events. So one person had an unexpected event. Yeah, like they were planning to drive down. Their car is completely blown out. So the repair is costing them a lot of money, which has affected, I think, their budget, for the retreat, because they were going to drive down. So I think there may be one space left. How could they find that out? It will be... It's on Trover Trip, but if they click on some of my videos, like in the video description, it will be in there. There'll be a link. So if they look up Trover Trip or Hogarth's Vedic Astrology Santa Fe, it will probably come up in Google that way. And I think there might be one place left. So it was sold out, but the person just emailed me. I don't know if they've had to cancel yet, but take a look and there might be one space. But there's a wait list as well, and that has been useful. So things happen, such as life. Things happen.
You're brave guy. I'd love that. I don't know if I could do what you do. Manage all those people. I would go for the food, though.
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility. Yes,
sure is.
But I love it.
I admire you so much. I cannot thank you enough for coming on my show. I've admired you when I first saw you on somewhere, and I just wanted that reading and followed your guidance, found success, and wanted to have you on to find out more about you. And
thank you.
Pretty dynamic guy.
I'm glad it worked out. I saw it in your chart. It was there. That's why I said go for it. And you've been
I'm
an excellent host. So thank you. You've
Oh,
done a
thank you
great
so
job
much.
with your channel. You've got some
Oh, thank you.
really slick stuff going on. Mine feels quite basic by
Oh, no.
comparison with what you have here.
I've been jumping around and doing different things, not sticking to any one thing, but heck, that's part of my charm.
Yeah, indeed. And I've
So,
got your cards, by the way. I was
oh,
literally just looking for them. You know,
oh yeah.
your tarot deck, and I do not know
Wait.
what I've done with them. And I was
Well,
so
they'll resurface, but I
but I've
wanted
got
to.
them.
Yeah, whenever I give a deck away, it doesn't have to be your favorite. You don't have to use them. You can give them to someone else. It's with just full heart.
Yeah.
So,
No, they look
but
gorgeous. I'm trying to find the
yeah,
box. And I'm like, what on earth have I done with the box?
the thing,
Literally, I have it nearby, and I don't know what I've done with the box, but they look like gorgeous cards, so maybe I'll
yeah.
use them on my
So
next
that was
show.
Kate Matthews was the illustrator, and she's native, but she made sure all of the cards had different races and abilities, and
Oh, wow.
it makes for. I made it because for the busy hotline, the busy reader, and I know everyone has done this. I don't care how experienced you are. You put a throw down and your mind goes blank. There's no way you can get anywhere with this. And so you say, allow me to speak with spirit. You know, you get that pause and say, come on, come on, come on. There's clues on each card to point you into that direction, and all you have to do is go through a few cards to get into the room of knowing, and that's when the epiphanies card. So that was my objective, and thank you for letting me talk about that. And thank you everyone for being so generous and kind. I think somebody put into the chat your some information about you, but nonetheless, I'm going to find your link to your site and information, and I will see that that's in the show notes. And I want to thank you so much for stopping by. And I'm going to I'm going to dance us off. So we'll see everybody. Come on,
Thank
dance
you
us
so much
off.
for having me. It's been a pleasure, and thank you everyone for joining us as well. Thanks so
Thank you
much.
so much.